March the 29th, insects. The insect year can be said to really start in March. After winter, this is the first month there is a general reawakening of eggs, caterpillars, pupae, and adults. A sunny day in March can easily raise the temperature of a south-facing wall up to 20 degrees centigrade. Consequently, solitary bees and queen wasps can be seen prospecting holes for possible nesting sites. Some of these holes will already be inhabited by spiders or even mice. Warm sandy banks are good places to look for these bees and wasps, and they are abundant along the greensand ridge of the North Downs. Most bees need a temperature of 10 degrees centigrade or above before they can fly. As the temperature of sunlit ground can often be 5 degrees higher than the air above it, bees and other insects are now often seen on or near the ground. Mining bees may even be laying eggs, quickly followed by a cuckoo bee laying her egg in the same cell. The last egg laid will hatch first and then raid the contents of the cell. Other bees may be seen congregating on rich nectar and pollen sources, such as willow catkins. Excessively large queen bumblebees are also on the lookout for nesting sites, the largest usually being the buff-tailed bumblebee, Bombus terrestris. Those most likely to be seen are the early bumblebee, Bombus pretorum, garden bumblebee, Bombus hortorum, and the white-tailed bumblebee, Bombus lucorum. Now is a good time to identify these common bees, as later very similar cuckoo bees, various mimics and drones will all make it much harder. As a rule, with any early bees you see, if it is very large with 2 yellow bands and a buff-white tail, it is likely to be Bombus terrestris. If smaller but also with 2 yellow bands and a pure white tail, Bombus lucorum, as 3 yellow bands and a white tail will indicate Bombus hortorum, and 2 yellow bands and a red tail, Bombus pratorum. In porches and along the edge of windows, overwintering ladybirds and lacewings are also starting to appear. Last month you may have seen the 7-spotted ladybird flying, but now it is likely to be joined by the 22-spot and 2-spot ladybirds. Lacewings can remain an iridescent green throughout their hibernation, but usually they just turn brown. Greenfly are now beginning their meteoric rise in numbers. Earwigs have already laid their eggs, which have hatched and are now being cared for by their parents. Scale insects are still very noticeable on bare branches at this time of year, and the first black worker and yellow meadow ants are starting to emerge. Ants. The insect highlight of the month has to be the re-emergence of wood ants, Formica rufra, which can now cover their 1-meter-high nests of pine needles in places such as Ockham and Oxshott heaths. Their trigger to emerge has been the rising spring temperature and sun shining on their often cone-shaped nests in clearings among the pine trees. The army of ants within these nests may well be over 100,000 strong and be responsible over the season for killing over 1 million other invertebrates. They are also quite capable of spraying formic acid at any inquisitive hand. In gardens, less welcome blowflies are buzzing noisily and sunning themselves on warm walls. The first hoverfly, perhaps a narcissus fly, may also be seen. All the while unnoticed, tiny sawflies are quietly laying their eggs, which will go on later to form galls on trees. Beetles can now be seen running across the ground again. Door beetles, or lousy watchmen as they were called, are making tiny piles of soil, revealing their whereabouts. Road beetles may possibly be seen if a stone is moved. Much rarer oil beetles, when disturbed, produce a noxious liquid from their knees, and bloody-nose beetles, a harmless red liquid which looks like blood from their mouthparts. On sandy heaths, for example Oxshott Heath, it is worth looking for minotaur beetles and handsome bright green tiger beetles. Their jaws are strong and quite capable of penetrating human skin. Small black flies, such as ensign flies around willows, are also starting to be noticed, and yellow dungflies are beginning to congregate around cowpats looking for females. Any unfurling leaves on trees and shrubs are now met by an army of different caterpillars. This is good news for any newly emerging hedgehogs, as fallen caterpillars are one of their favourite foods. However, as yet most caterpillars remain unseen. although gardeners are starting to notice eaten leaves and tits and wrens make bold appearances, obviously looking under leaves for larvae to eat.